spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Ram Grace, this is Adam Diaz, and we're here to talk to you guys about some stories.
Indeed we are. We're going to be reading the stories that you wonderful folks have sent to us. We call them homegrown horrors. Robin, what's a homegrown horror?
Homegrown horrors are the tales of supernatural, paranormal, spiritual, sometimes true crime, tales that you get from your family, your friends, from things you've experienced yourself, and you share it with us. We share it with the rest of the spooky friends, and it's a good time all around.
Indeed. So if you have a story like that you would like to share with us, please email storytime@scarish.com, or you can go to our website, scarish.com, which has been completely revamped, calling it the new scarish.com. Click on Contact Us, fill out that form, and it comes directly to us. You can also hit us up on any of our social medias. Instagram is @ScarishPodcast, Twitter is @ScarishPod, and Facebook is facebook.com/ScarishPodcast. So we would love to hear from you folks because we love to share your stories and we love to hear what happens to you folks in the creepier parts of your life because it is super interesting and a lot of you folks really like to talk about it. So before we get into our first email of the show, I do want to make a quick announcement. So we had started to integrate all of these new things that we do in our stream based off of this new functionality that Twitch offers. And a lot of them offer like live redemptions and things like that, and a lot of audience interactivity, and it's been really, really fun. That said, we were like kind of in a test phase to see whether or not certain things that we were doing we liked and certain things we didn't like. And we've decided that, so for the things that interrupt the stories, we're going to go ahead and edit those out of the episodes. So we're going to go actually back through the backlog of like 5-6 episodes.
Yeah, just 5 episodes or something.
And just pull out anything that interrupted the story because we want to make sure that it's one thing if we're doing research and we're reading our scripts to each other, but if we're reading your story and we already tangent enough, we don't want to have like additional interruptions added in there because we want to respect the stories that we're given.
These Storytime episodes are all about you guys, so...
Yeah, and they matter. What you guys have to say matters, and please send us those stories. So we have 4 that we're going to be going over. I'm going to be doing 2, like always, and Robin's going to be doing 2, like always. Did you want to go first, or do you want me to?
You can go first.
Okay, so this first one we're going to jump into is a story we received on Facebook from Shawnee, and it says, I have another story for Storytime, so feel free to share. So, in my hometown of Altoona, Pennsylvania, there is a railroad called Horseshoe Curve, and in one particular area, there is a tunnel called Horseshoe Curve Tunnel. It is a car tunnel. What's up?
I just think it's weird that you'd name a railroad curve, because it's like, how does the railroad look that you'd name it Horseshoe Curve? I don't know. I can't imagine a train going really fast and like whipping a Yui.
I suppose they could have called it Horseshoe Railroad. That would have made a little bit more sense, but Horseshoe Curve maybe is just like a specific section. I don't know. Going on, it is a car tunnel, and there is a myth behind it that an Irish woman was killed while waiting for her love to get off work. That's sad. Anyway, my friend and I were fresh out of high school and decided to go driving around one night and do some quote-unquote ghost hunting around midnight. So we went to the tunnel. It was a pretty calm and clear night. We did our drive-through of the tunnel and then decided to turn around and do another drive-through. Now on the back side of the tunnel there is a red light, so we were waiting for the light to change when my friend CJ and myself looked out the back window of the truck and saw a solid, misty, gray figure shoot up. Imagine a human-like figure, probably about 5'6", behind the truck. The light turned green and we told our friend Scooter to punch it as the figure seemed to be leaning towards the truck as though it was going to climb on it. A little while later, like a few days or maybe a week or two later, we decided to go back. For whatever reason, I decided to record everything on my phone. I think the reason is because you're smart and you wanted a video there, some sort of chronicle where if you died, people could find out what happened to you. Now, one of the things people say you are supposed to do is flick your lights and honk your horn 3 times. It is supposed to stir up the activity of the tunnel. Well, we pull up and flick the lights. However, my friend's truck, due to technical issues, no longer had a horn. He literally had ripped it out.
Oh, I was going to say, that doesn't sound like a technical issue. More like I've honked it way too many times, way too angrily, and it just doesn't work anymore.
Eventually, they just die out. I had a friend whose car started messing up, and every time like he hit a bump, his horn would honk. And like the back roads where I'm from are just terrible. So he was driving home, and like every bump, it sounded like he was honking at the car in front of him, and they were all different lengths and like different intensities, so it definitely sounded like he was just messing with people for like a full hour going home.
Wow.
It goes on to say, because something went wrong and it wouldn't turn off, which is why the horn got ripped out, so we quote-unquote hit the horn. You could clearly hear my friend's ring hitting the metal of the steering wheel in the recording. So we quote unquote hit the horn, and you can clearly hear my friend's ring hitting the metal of the steering wheel in the recording. We hung out for a little while and didn't notice anything this time, so we went to get snacks at a local 24-hour gas station called Sheetz. We replayed the recording. We could hear the part when we pulled up to the tunnel and did the lights flick, and within a few seconds of my friend's ring hitting the steering wheel, you can, clear as day, hear a car horn go off.
Wow.
Even though it was like 2 to 3 a.m. and we were the only car in the area.
And his horn doesn't work, so it's not his horn.
That's so weird. I ended up losing the recording when I swapped phones later, but it still gives me goosebumps to this day just thinking about it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will add a link below about the tunnel.
Nice.
That was really good. That's super creepy. I'm so sad. I've lost a whole bunch of videos when I switched phones too, so now that they have the cloud thing, hopefully everyone can get their paranormal stuff backed up.
Paranormal stuff.
You know, that and like, you know, pictures of your family and special events and stuff like that you save that sometimes disappears when you switch phones. I mean, that just tends to happen. So who knows? But thank you so much for sending that in.
Yeah,
that's a really good one
to
start the show out with.
I like those stories where it's like legends of if you go to this area or this road and you do this, this happens. Like the thing with you when you went to go see the Moody Light stuff. And,
right.
And it's those types of things that kids kind of get in trouble doing late at night is kind of funny and really entertaining.
Right. Those are really fun to do. I used to love to do those things when I was younger, and I probably would still do them if I knew about some of the places nearby and, you know, we weren't on lockdown. So maybe in the future. But thank you so much for sending that in.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go into the next email, and this one is titled Sleep Paralysis Demon Named Carl.
Nice. Wasn't something else named Carl recently? In your episode this week, wasn't there a ghost named Carl? Fred. Same thing.
Yeah.
So similar. My bad, y'all.
Similar.
I apologize.
If you folks haven't listened to this week's episode yet, go back to yesterday. Or no, it's Friday when this releases. Oh, my lover.
Go back 3 days.
Go back 3 days and listen to it. It's really good. I enjoyed it just because trains. That's all I'm going to say. So this next email begins. Hi.
Hello.
My name is Sammy, and I saw your podcast a couple of weeks ago. Thank you for joining us. I personally have experienced sleep paralysis 5 times through the 2 years of living in my new house. I still live with my parents, but when I've tried to tell them what I've experienced, they thought I was joking. Parents tend to do that a lot, I think, when you tell them, like, dude, oh no.
Parents just don't understand. Robin's realizing that she says dude
I've been
a lot.
saying dude a lot, yeah. So
just today, though.
Just today. But, yeah, my parents, honestly, if I tell them, I told my mom, like, hey, I'm feeling this. And she's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
It's just something that parents do. Anyway, so what I am here to tell y'all is about Carl. In my room, there's a little open part of my ceiling. It has a frame around it and it opens to the attic. All right. So the attic entrance type thing. But for the first month of living there, nothing really happened. It was when I started getting comfortable is when the paralysis started happening. That is why I will not sleep in our guest room. There is the attic entrance there, and I feel like bad things would happen.
I'm sick. I'm banished to the guest room. If she's sick, I'm banished to the guest room, and there's no TV in there. There's nothing else to do but play video games on your phone.
With my luck, something will crawl out of there. Oh, my Lord.
What?
Something will crawl out of there with my luck. No. I will have sleep paralysis just like Sammy and see things coming out of it. Okay. On February 6th of last year, so that's 2019, is when I first met Carl. Carl is the name I have for my demon to make him not as scary. He has Slender Man-like arms, face, and torso. Except with his legs, they look like they've been broken many times, which is why I know he's coming in the middle of the night. I hear the cracking. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. His face is a little different, too. He wears a smiley face mask, which I think is the most terrifying part about it to me, because you just see the smiley face demon sitting on your chest. I don't know if you've watched The Haunting at Hill House, but there is an episode about the smiley face man, and the creature that they've created for that episode is absolutely terrifying.
It's really haunting,
I remember the first time I saw it, I was just like,
oh my God. Yeah, it's one of the scariest parts of that whole show.
But on February is when it all started. I remember I went to bed pretty late and I had trouble falling asleep. But when I did, I remember waking up laying on my back and I just really wanted a glass of water. When I tried to move, I was stuck. I closed my eyes to try and wake up thinking I was in a dream. When I opened my eyes again, Carl was peeking from his little attic hole. Wouldn't it be crazy if it was a real person?
I was going to say,
just
it
wearing
really
a
does
mask?
sound like a real
Yeah.
person.
I tried to scream, but of course I couldn't. He slowly started to crawl down from the attic hole, and when he made it out, he landed on my bed. I closed my eyes again to try and fall asleep, but it's very hard to do that when a demon is sitting on your chest.
I would say so.
When I opened my eyes again, his face was so close to mine, I could feel the coldness of his face until he opened his mouth. That is why, if I wake up from a nightmare, I am not opening my eyes. I fucking refuse, because odds are I am in this Inception type thing, and there is something staring at me.
Wow.
Nope.
She's 2 dreams deep, y'all.
I don't know why I specifically remember when he opened his mouth, but get ready for some details.
Oh, God.
Carl has the most teeth of anything I've ever seen. His tongue goes all the way down, probably past my lower back. That is impressive.
Oddly specific, too.
And when he breathed, it smelled like sulfur and blood. That is disgusting. He stayed like that for about the longest 5 minutes of my life when he decided to crawl back into his little attic hole. I've had other experiences with Carl, but they're not as interesting as the first. But occasionally, I will hear footsteps, and the little attic hole will shuffle in the middle of me doing anything. And no, I haven't decided to go in there. My brother has. He saw nothing. But I saw Carl's arm peek over a little and go back into hiding. And
Wow.
that's why I'm purifying my room as I speak, so Carl will leave me the hell alone. Thanks for reading my rant about Carl. He's a pretty chill demon now, but hopefully after typing about him, he won't get super active. XO, Sammy. Thank you so much, Sammy, for sharing that absolutely terrifying demon.
I understand that fear, too,
I
where it's like, if
totally
I
do.
talk about it, will it start acting up type of thing?
I just understand the fear of the attic entrance.
Right.
Because you never know.
The basement of the sky, man.
It is the basement of the sky.
We were doing some just stuff around the house that needed to be done a few days ago. So the ladder is out. It's not in the garage. It's in the house. We could change some stuff around, fix some stuff, whatever. And I just had the feeling, because it's like, well, it's in the house, and I have never personally been in our attic. So I was like, should we go in the attic? We should go in the attic. We should live stream us going in the attic. We can go live on Instagram and go into our attic and just walk around. And Ron was like, absolutely fucking not. We're not doing that. I'm not going in the attic at all. So I might wind up doing that at some point when I get stir crazy enough during quarantine. But yeah, I understand that some people have a very healthy fear of the attic, which I do get. I was afraid of the basement for a really long time. So
I kind of grew up in a house that had a vaulted ceiling. We didn't really have an attic because technically the attic, the way the ceiling was, it's like the roof, right? But the roof goes to the edges of the walls. So the sides of the roof are closets. And then your room is just vaulted to the ceiling. It's not necessarily an attic. It's just the ceiling is really high, and that's just how it's
right.
built. So I never really had an attic to be afraid of. When I moved to Texas, they had attics, and I was like, no, dog. And it was one of those ones where the stairs, flip out. I was like, no, I'm good. And then this one has a little attic hole that you crawl up into.
You have to get a ladder to crawl. I've never had an attic where it had like the pull down where you can get into it easily. All of my attics have been fairly inaccessible, which is really, really annoying. So, all right. Thank you so much for sending that in.
Yeah,
really
thank
good
you so
email.
much.
Yet again, Spooky Mom wasn't lying when she said these are really good. So before we get to the next story, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we are back. So the next story we have, and my final story, but not the last story of the show, and it came to us via email. So this one didn't get sent through Facebook, which is always nice when it comes in. But hey, regular email works too. Send your stories. Send them now. Starts out like this. Feel free to read this on the pod. That's a good way to start an email, so then we know right away. Hey, what's up? Robin's not going to say hey.
Hey.
This is I Just Sigh from the Scariest Discord group. I hope I said your name right. I'm pretty sure I did not. I was listening to the Storytime episode 105, and someone sent in an email about recurring nightmares, and it reminded me of a recurring nightmare I would have when I was younger. Also, I sent you an email a while ago about a different recurring nightmare once. I'm not sure you got it because I think I typed your email address in wrong.
Aww.
Send it again.
I
haven't heard you guys read it yet, but I'm not completely caught up. The order I'm listening in is completely screwed up. Okay, anyways. I've done that before, too. I've started a podcast. I've been like, I'm going to listen to this one because I like that topic.
My favorite way of listening to podcasts is starting from episode 1 and continuing from there. So, like, My Favorite Murder, I started from episode 1 and got caught up to the current ones. And, like, Try Guys, I started from the first episode and then got caught up.
For me, Flophouse, because it's a movie podcast, I watch the movies that I've seen before, which is all over the place, then the movies I haven't. And so I was all over it, and I couldn't remember, like, where they were, and, like, I listened to an episode, I'm like, oh, they're still working there? I'm like, oh, this is from 6 years ago. So I totally understand jumping around, but it happens to the best of us. The email continues. So I think I was around 7 when I had these recurring nightmares, but they were slightly different every time I had them. But they all had the same overall gist to them. It was where I was at my grandmother's house on my father's side, except it wasn't her house. I mean, it had a lot of the same details, similar layout, same weird smell, but except it was really messy and had all these different rooms.
I've never been able to smell in a dream.
Really?
I've never smelled in a dream.
I've totally been able to smell in dreams. And a lot of things I smell like from my childhood, and I wake up and I'm like,
no way.
It's such an old smell that I just randomly remembered in a dream, and I don't know where I smelled it before. Those are the only dreams that I tend to remember really well, is where it invokes some other sense that, like, attaches it to my memory.
I seriously have never smelled anything in a dream.
Folks, let us know if you can smell in your dreams.
Yeah, because I'm really curious about that, because I've never had anything like that happen before.
That's
and I
really
think that's
interesting.
really cool. Yeah.
The email goes on. One of the rooms had a painting of a beautiful woman dressed in blue, but if you looked directly into her eyes, you would die, and I was never allowed to go inside of that room. That's pretty smart. Dream Grandma is a smart person. Something about there being a strong evil inside of it. Another one had a vicious gorilla inside, and another one was filled with guns and a strong smell of smoke. I'm sure a therapist could break down what each one of these dreams represents, but to me, I'm just, like, infatuated with how cool this story is right now. There were rows and rows of other doors which my mother would never let me go inside, saying, if you do, we'll all die. So basically, all of the dreams that had that house in it with all those doors and rooms. One of the dreams was of me and my mother taking the guns from the gun room and playing a game.
That's not fun.
Well, it depends on the game.
Oh, gosh.
Where we would stand in the doorway and try to shoot the woman in the painting's eyes without looking at her eyes. Because, you know, death. Another dream was where I accidentally let the gorilla out of that room.
What?
And some weird people and I had to try to kill it, which we succeeded in doing. It sounds like a sitcom or like a sci-fi show. This is a really cool concept.
We need to watch the movie with Margot Robbie, where...
The hide and seek movie?
Yes.
Yeah, that one looks pretty cool.
I really want to see that
I don't think that's what it's called, but, like, look it up, Margot Robbie hide and seek murder movie. The email continues. Another one was where my grandmother made potato casserole. That one sounds super intense. And that's basically it. There were a lot more, but they were really bizarre, and I can't remember them very well. I'm not sure why I had these violent dreams, though, because when I was a little girl, I was terrified of gore and horror and murder. Anyways, thanks for reading. Sorry if it's all over the place and doesn't make any sense. It's late where I am, and my brain is fuzzy. I thought it made perfect sense, and thank you for sending it in. Like, that is such a cool concept where it's a recurring dream where the setting is the same, but what unfolds is different. I've had recurring dreams where I realize I've done this before because I've had the same dream before while I'm in the dream, and I decide to change what I did the last time to something new and see what results happen, and eventually I get to an outcome where I stop having the dream.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have this huge house with unlimited doors and every door has some sort of kill switch behind it, it just sounds awesome, to be honest with you. I know it's probably terrifying, but it's just such a cool concept. So
yeah, I think that's a really cool dream to have, but at the same time, absolutely terrifying. I would hate to feel like I'm not actually getting any sleep in a dream. You know what I mean?
Waking up exhausted sucks. So yeah, I totally see what you're saying there. So thank you one more time for sending that in.
Thank you. So this next email
the last email of the show.
This next email is from Anna, and the subject is The Spirit of My Dad. And I am expecting this to just be full of feels. So it begins. Hi, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. A friend of mine, who knows I'm a huge fan of all things spooky, introduced me to your podcast recently, and I absolutely love it.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to your friend who introduced you to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Everybody who shares this with their family, their friends, thank you so much, because we couldn't do this without you. That's how we grow.
It really does.
I listened to you on my way to work and wanted to share my paranormal moment with y'all. My dad was my best friend. Huge daddy's girl, and since I was young, he always made sure that I understood that death was a part of life and promised that he would always be around me when it would be his time to go. Growing up,
We would spend my summer vacations back in Mexico, where he was from, and stay at my grandma and aunt's house. He always jokingly said that when he passes, that his spirit will be in Mexico, not in San Diego, where we live, because he just loved it so much. My dad ended up passing away in 2011, and I finally was able to return to Mexico for the first time without him the following year. I put it off because I knew I would feel super emotional about it, but felt strongly that I needed to go and make my peace with his departure. The very first night, I ended up staying in my cousin's room because she wasn't going to be there until the following day. So I unpacked, turned off the light, turned the TV on, and had myself a good, ugly cry, which is totally healthy.
Everyone needs that at some point.
Yep. In the midst of this emotional breakdown, the TV turned off by itself. I immediately felt scared and ran to turn the light on. At first, I thought the power went out in the entire house, but I looked out the hallway and saw that the rest of the lights were also on. So I went back in the room, turned the TV back on, and immediately thought to myself, what if that was my dad? So I took it upon myself to ask out loud, Daddy, is that you? And the second I finished that question, the TV immediately turned off again. I didn't get scared this time. Instead, I accepted that it was him, and it was his way of letting me know he kept his promise. The week went on pretty normally after that, up until my very last night. My cousin was sleeping on her bed, and I was on the inflatable bed in the middle of the room, praying before dozing off to bed. And in the middle of praying, as I'm staring at the dark ceiling, the light bulb started to flicker on. I laid there frozen again because I knew there's no fucking way in hell that lights flicker on. Flickering off is one thing, but this? I agree.
That's the first thing I thought too. Was like, yeah, that's bizarre. Like, closing a circuit is different than breaking a circuit. You know, it's so much easier to just like either the light bulb's filament is going out, or for whatever reason the switch is like weird, but like turning on, that's super weird.
Yeah. I sat up to see if my cousin had woken up, but she was still sound asleep. After a minute of that, I realized again that it was just my dad and reassured myself that it was just him, knowing I was going to leave back home the next morning and wanted to bid me goodbye. I 100% know that was my dad, and honestly I'm so happy that happened to me. He is my guardian angel now, and he gave me proof to show that he kept his promise, and he is a lot closer than I think. It's reassuring to know that our loved ones will truly always be with us no matter what realm we enter. That is a very, very sweet story, and I'm so glad. I'm very happy with the stories of people getting closure with things like this when they lose a loved one and they experience these things knowing like, yeah, they are still with me, you know?
Absolutely.
And I hope to one day be able to experience that too. Hopefully not anytime soon, but if it does, that I get that closure as well. I think that's really important.
It's a really hard thing to get when you suffer such an incredible loss, because a lot of us can't even fathom, people that haven't lost someone that close to them can't even fathom what it would feel like. And I've lost a lot of people in my family, but like, knock on wood, like my mom and my dad are still with us, and you know, I'm very dedicated to making sure that stays the way it is. Like with something as scary as COVID-19, like it's going around right now, it's, you know, part of the being precautious is making sure that you're protecting the people who are high risk, and that's really weighed heavily on my mind since all this thing's kicked off, because I honestly couldn't even imagine what you've been through. And then if something really sudden were to happen, it'd be really hard to find closure. So when we get emails like this, it's nice to know that folks out there have found it in one way, shape, or form. And in a lot of cases, they really sincerely feel, and it really does sound like they got closure from the person that they lost in some way, shape, or form. So thank you so much for sending that in.
Yeah,
I know these things can't be easy to write, so we appreciate everyone that does send them in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much to everyone who sent in your stories this week. We sincerely appreciate you sharing stuff that is so deeply personal. And for those of you who sent in stories that weren't that serious, that's okay too. We sincerely appreciate everything that gets sent our way. If you have a story you would like to share, please email storytime@scarish.com or go to our website, scarish.com. It's been redesigned. It's the new scarish.com. Click on Contact Us, fill out that form. It comes directly to us. You can also hit us up on any of our social medias. We have Facebook, which is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod. Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Robin, for those folks who would like to donate to us monetarily, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Their monthly donations tiers start at $1. And right now, to celebrate Adam's birthday coming up next month, everyone's getting, all their patrons are getting 15% off our Etsy store. So that includes international folks. Hey.
My birthday gift is going to you all.
Yeah. So
I have asked for underwear for my birthday.
So, pick up some cool swag from the Etsy shop. and get that 15% off. Join Patreon. It's pretty fucking cool. And then we have Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/scaryish podcast. Those are one-time donations, and those donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup.
Indeed. We sincerely appreciate all the folks that watch us live, listen to the show weekly. We appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much for everyone who has reached out to us to let us know that the show has brought them some sense of peace or entertainment during this crazy time we're living in right now, because it is just a mad, mad world right now, and we get it, and we thank all of you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts. So I think that is just about everything that we have for this week. So Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.